Here's what's not cool. Sophie Turner, not sure if the X-Men can fit into the MCU. To that I say, not your X-Men. You're right.
It's adorable that she thinks she's going to continue to be Jean Grey.
I just want to just go pat Sansa on the head and go, no.
Oh, Sansa.
Like Sansa.
When will you ever learn?
Like Sansa, Game of Thrones is almost over, and so is your reign in the X-Men movies. You're done. Although, man, will we have egg on our face if Kevin Feige is like, no, I like those movies. We're bringing them in. I'd be like, no. Yeah. But I know that's not true because Kevin Feige is a person who makes good decisions. So that's not going to happen. She says, when asked about whether the X-Men will cross over into the MCU, she says, I don't know. The answer is no. I feel the complexities of the X-Men being shunned by society and segregated is not something that happens in the Avengers universe. Of course, I wanted to see them cross over, but I don't think the themes through X-Men will collaborate well with the Avengers. It'll be very different. If they do it, I'd love to see how it turns out. Yeah, because you'll be watching from the fucking theater.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not shunned in their own movies. Like the military is after them in their movies.
But like the log line of Dark Phoenix is that the X-Men at the beginning of Dark Phoenix, they're international heroes. What are you talking about? You're in that movie. Did you forget that? You just finished doing it for the second time when they retaped it again. Sansa, when will you ever learn? Yeah. Okay, it's
Look,
fine.
I'm probably the only person in the world that is not in a rush to see the X-Men interact with the Avengers.
I'm not in a rush to see them interact, but I want to see them in the universe. I don't think they have to interact with the Avengers at all. Not for a while.
Well, then what's the point of them being in the same universe as them if you don't see them interact? Like, it could be... The X-Men is a property that can stand on its own. Yeah. It could be its own universe or whatever on an alternate Earth where mutants are actually persecuted.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. They absolutely can be persecuted in that universe, like, because I don't think she's really saying,
I'm not talking about her.
No. I'm taking what she said just because I think it's a decent point to touch on your point, which is I don't think she's really saying like our X-Men wouldn't fit there. I think she's saying the X-Men in general, right? Because obviously, I think they probably already told her like, no, look, there's no way these actors don't know they're getting tossed, right? Come on. There's no way they don't know that, except for the girl who plays Storm. Who Alexandra Shipp. She's like, no, I'm going to be in those movies, guys. Like, no, you're not.
You're adorable.
Yeah. Hey, great value Aaliyah. No, you're not. But I'm sure they already know that they're not going to be in those movies. But to her point, if you look at the comics, yeah, if you put them into the MCU from a perspective that they are much like the Inhumans in the MCU, they spring up with powers and people are like, I don't trust it. What the fuck? Like, they don't hate the Avengers, but now they're kind of starting to. Like, if you look down the road of like Civil War and stuff like that, yeah, the governments were really concerned about these superpowered people running around the Earth. So like people were, I mean, if you remember in Age of Ultron, when they had like the Iron Man drones in that like random European country, like people were throwing rocks and shit at the drones because they hated them, right? So they were concerned about it. I imagine all these people with power starting to pop up, they would probably freak out.
I get that it would work in the world. I'm just not in a big rush to see it.
You're not in a rush to see them interact with the Avengers or
everybody
at all.
Look, when this Fox merger thing happened, the first thing on everybody's mind was AVX.
See, I don't think that's a good idea right away.
Not a good idea.
No, it's not.
You gotta build the X-Men up.
Yeah, you got to build to that. You can't just go straight
goods, man. Like you got to build them up, and
you got a lot of fixing to do.
If I were to do it, I would do it similar to what was done in the '90s. Right? We followed Jubilee. She was our point of view character,
the Night of the Sentinels,
and we find that like this young mutant is developing powers, and she doesn't really understand them, much like the Inhumans, right?
Sure.
And the Inhumans and the X-Men are the same. One group just calls them Inhumans, but the X-Men just call themselves the X-Men. And the X-Men, in my view, needs to be a combination of young and older X-Men teaming up.
I agree.
You get younger mutants like Jubilee and Armor and shit like that, and you team them up with the adult versions of the classic X-Men characters.
Yep.
And the classic X-Men are seen as mentors, and the story is actually about the young X-Men coming to grips with who they are and who they actually are and who they've developed into, while looking at these positive role models. Because the X-Men are, they're allegories for race and sexual identity.
Yeah, of course.
And
marginalized people in general.
Yeah, and marginalized people in general. And that's how you tell that type of story without being so heavy-handed.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the idea of throwing those characters directly into AVX makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. Why? I mean, I'm sure you can make up some bullshit, reason why. But that it just doesn't,
like, to me, you build up the X-Men over a phase, maybe even 2 phases, right? Like, take your time. And what I'm saying is, like, I don't need them to interact more than, okay, you've got people like Wolverine who comes in, right? Like, you have
your one crossover character. Wolverine could be your crossover character, like Spider-Man.
And that to me makes sense, right? Wolverine, for some reason, needs to be there. Teams up, he can do some damage with the Avengers. He's like, hey, these guys are all right. Like, they got a couple of assholes over there. I got a couple of assholes over here I deal with. Whatever. He can jump in between them. Because, look, people want to see Wolverine.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, I know people are kind of sick of him in the movies, but done right, like, he could be fucking awesome. Like, he could be an awesome... Imagine him standing next to an Iron Man and a Captain America. Like, Captain America being like, we're a team. And Wolverine's like, fuck teams, nigga. Let's kill shit. Like that works. Then with Spider-Man next to him, like, why are you so angry, little dog man? Like you need those kind of characters to pull off each other, right? So it can work. People are, I'm sick of Spider-Man. Yeah, until Tom Holland came back and they did him right. And people are like, oh, okay, I'm really into this. So... you have that. You can build up the X-Men and Fantastic Four over 2 phases. Then, if you really want to do Dark Phoenix again, you could figure out a way to do AVX. But I think there's a better way to do that.
There's a better way to do it, and there's much better way to do Phoenix. Like, you can't just... Phoenix doesn't work if you don't fall in love with Jean Grey. If you don't develop some sort of emotional. Imagine if Captain America in the movie, if Chris Evans, if we found out Chris Evans was actually a Hydra agent, like they did in the comic books. Right. Everybody loves Chris Evans' Captain America.
Yeah, you could pull it off then.
You could pull it off. You would feel betrayed.
Yeah. Look, people were burning comic books as if storylines are real.
Right.
I can't believe they did this to him. By the way, where are all those people now? Oh, right, because Cap is back and it's fine. Right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because fucking calm down.
Imagine Chris Evans, the man, spoke at the RNC. You would feel betrayed.
I would. Because he is not about that life at all. That dude is trying to be Cap. He's like, yes, I'm retiring from the role, but in my spare time, in my real life, I will actually be Captain America, so it's cool. Don't worry. I'll be doing feats of heroics.
You voting for Chris Evans for president?
I think I might. I mean, he seems like he's on the right side of history. I would vote for him before I would vote for Black Adam for president, I can tell you that. Trust that dude. You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.